Ayisha, thank you for joining me today. Congratulations, I guess, on the completion, season 4 of Transplant. How do you feel?
Um, I feel kind of sad. I mean, this is like the official end for us, right? Because we had our end to season 4 in Canada already. And so this is, then we had this kind of last hurrah where we got to kind of experience it again with a whole different audience, an audience that we know who've been waiting for this for a while. So it's been nice to be able to relive it and to reminisce about our time on set and all of that. But now this feels like a more final conclusion to the entire experience.
Mm.
That's kind of sad.
And I mean, I really don't want to give anything away, but I have this bad habit of, especially if I'm doing interviews, I don't sometimes look ahead. And sometimes I do the episode right before, like we're talking.
Uh,
I just
okay.
watched this week's episode, and that ending, I was like, oh, I didn't realize they were going to do that. I'm trying to stay a little bit, vague so people can enjoy it, even if they catch it later on Peacock.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're making big decisions. Tell me a little bit about Dr. June and really where you harness her personality because man, she just seems such a strong character who's just it feels like she's always fighting to not let people in.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for that. I think that, my process as an actor has always been, and I hope remains the same, which is that I draw as much from my own personal well of experiences. um, and, I feel really grateful because June has been an opportunity for me to work through a lot of my own stuff. And I didn't realize how easy it was for me to create distance between me and other people to protect myself. It makes it easier for me to not feel like I'm being engulfed or that I'm abandoning myself. If I can create distance between me and other people, it can be challenging for some of us to care about other people as deeply as we do and care about their experiences and worry about them as much as we do internally and also take care of ourselves and our own feelings and our own needs can be really challenging for some of us to know how to prioritize those things. And so the best solutions can sometimes feel like just keep people far away from you and then you don't have to worry about them. So I think that that's the approach that June started out with. And very quickly, I think Mags was just like constantly challenging that because she's the complete opposite, right? So, um, I think that in a lot of ways, this was a process that helped me learn the value of. It's not that helped me learn it helped me learn the value of vulnerability, helped me learn the value of letting people in, of letting people know me, like truly know me, of asking for help, of um, of not always having to feel weak or broken alone in a corner where nobody can see me and then coming out when everything looks like it's fine. I got to kind of process that and explore that through the character, through the safety of like June on the outside. Nobody knows who Ayisha is or what Ayisha is really dealing with. So I can really live what's going on inside of me out there for everybody to see and nobody will be the wiser, until I decide to tell them about it. So that's always been my process. And as a result, these years playing June, I think that I've grown and evolved tremendously as a person and as a woman, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, in all of those ways, I think that I've grown and I've evolved um, through through the character. I think I've always had a good cognitive understanding and cognitive, you know, intelligence when it comes to emotions. I've always read a lot of books on psychology, but this was, you know, the practice of applying it in a safe and controlled environment. And then, having this amazing cast of people watching me do that, getting to know me, having those conversations, building those real relationships with those people allowed me to kind of just integrate it into who I am and how I live my life now.
And how did you feel about that added layer in this season of June trying to attempting to have a baby, and then that necessarily doesn't go as planned that we saw in the first episodes. What was your reaction reading that on script and seeing that we were going to add that layer to it?
Yeah. Joe has this habit. I don't know how he does it, but he just kept creating these moments that allowed me to lift things, real things, like I said, real things that I had been that had been challenging me personally without knowing any of these things. You know, whether it had to do with like the dad situation or just like relations, like so many things he wrote into it. And I'd be like, "Hey Joe, just so you know, like this literally mirrors a real time experience, and this is what I'm going to bring to the situation." And so in this case, you know, the challenge that at that particular point in time that I had related to with June was this kind of like fear around having kids, desperately wanting to have a family. You know, I've worked with kids for a long time. I absolutely love being part of their growth experience, being, you know, being part of their support system. It's so important to me and I value it so much. I'm terrified of the idea of being a mom for such a long time. And you know, the process of I also had a lot of fear around like whether or not I'd even be capable of doing it. Something in me told me that I might not even want to. Like, what if you want to do it and then you can't, right? There's something else that's out there that prevents you from being able to do that. And I got to process a lot of those fears and those experiences watching June just go for it, which was like I almost felt like she was going for it faster than I was even ready to, you know, allow her to go for it. But as a result, now, you know, 2 years after wrapping that season, I'm finding myself in a similar situation where like I'm now feeling more comfortable with the idea of truly exploring having kids. And what happens? Now I'm facing like all of these women's health issues that are I'm really having to deal with and having to overcome a lot of those fears and situations that I'm so grateful that I had a chance to kind of somewhat process through June 1st. So I just wanted to share that because I just think that it's just there's just these weird things that just kept coming up, and that's you know how season four. That's kind of my personal continuation of how season four has affected me and helped me grow or evolve in different ways.
No, I really love that. And it's actually the kind of conversation that I love to have with you as an actor because you get to play you get to put on a different skin, you get to explore different people, different professions, different emotions that can empathize with the entire audience, but you yourself get to explore that in kind of in a outer body way. It's you, of course. And that's the one thing I've always been jealous of actors is the fact that you get the chance to do that. But I have the
Yeah,
next best thing, which is being able to talk to you about it. So that's pretty good.
fair. I love it.
Now, I do want to talk about some of your relationships, specifically one that comes to mind. You're always butting heads with Gord, Mark Novak. Tell me a little bit about working with him. Pretty close, I would say.
Yeah, I mean. That was such a fun experience. That part came relatively easy to me because I think that again, like I said, when it comes to how I was presenting in the world, my comfort zone of interacting, you know, I competed and trained and had a business in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. So these are like male-dominated environments where, you know, egos are high and you have to be able to kind of hold your own. And so I developed that skill of being able to kind of you know, turn off softer sides of me and come and be ready to have those confrontations. But I think that what was interesting with this relationship with Mark is that it, you know, he kind of came in and was challenging her in this way that I think um, was testing this side of her that Mags was developing, like this more vulnerable side that Mags was developing was making it a little bit more challenging for her to deal with Novak, where she normally probably would have come in and been able to just like lay it down if she had to. It became more and more challenging because she's thinking more broadly. She's more vulnerable naturally, like she's legitimately more vulnerable going into these situations and how she's approaching them. So it was fun and it was therapeutic and I really loved the results of it. I loved watching those moments back and just had a really Gordon's just he's really good at what he does. He was the perfect Novak character, so it made it really easy.
Aisha, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. Congratulations again on well, the completion again now here in the United States of transplant. And also thank you for opening up to me and being able to talk a little bit about your personal self and your journey with Dr. June. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And
Well,
so
thanks
hopefully
for
I'll
asking the good questions. I appreciate that.
I
That's meaningful to
appreciate
me.
that as
So
well.
thank you.
Thank you, and I hope to chat with you again on a future project.
Anytime for sure.